Hello there.
Hey guys, this is April with the For Richer or Horror podcast, and I missed last week. Surprisingly, I was on vacation from work and I still didn't upload. I was just being super lazy, spending time with my family, just sleeping, and, I don't know. I just couldn't. I didn't have the motivation in me, but I'm back this week with an episode on the baseline killer. This story is one that is kind of near and dear to me. I'll explain later. It's just kind of a little bit sentimental for me, which is gonna sound really weird because this is such a horrific story. It's really bad. This guy's super fucked up, but I just have a personal connection to it. So let's get this started with Marc Goudeau. He was the baseline killer, obviously. The previous name to the baseline killer was the baseline rapist. This happened in Phoenix, Arizona, where I'm from. He was a construction worker prior to being sentenced. He committed 9 murders, 10 rapes, 5 additional robberies, and the span of his crimes went from August 6th, 2005 to June 29th, 2006 as the baseline killer and the baseline rapist. He did commit crimes prior to this, but they weren't related as the baseline killings, baseline rapings. So his list of criminal charges are 9 counts of murder, 5 counts of sexual assault, 3 counts of attempted sexual assault, 10 counts of kidnapping, 12 counts of armed robbery, 4 counts of attempted armed robbery, 3 counts of sexual abuse, 9 counts of sexual misconduct with a minor, 13 counts of aggravated assault, and then 3 counts of indecent exposure. He is currently sentenced to death. He was apprehended September 4th of 2006. His status is incarcerated. And just a little additional, Marc Goudeau, aka the baseline killer, is an American abductor, robber, serial rapist, and later a serial killer who was active in Arizona from 2005 to 2006. This incidentally coincided with another case of serial killings in the area. That serial killer was known as the serial shooter. I'm not sure how they were ever able to differentiate between the two, because Marc Goudeau also killed his victims with a gun, so I'm not sure how they knew. That's so stupid of me to say. What kind of gun was used? That's probably going to be a good indicator between knowing if it's the serial shooter or the baseline killer. Wow, that was stupid, April. Good job. Well, anyway, there were the 2 killers active at the same time. A little bit of background about Marc Goudeau. So Marc Goudeau was born on September 6th of 1964 in Phoenix, Arizona. He was the second youngest of 13 children. His parents were Willie and Alberta. Willie was a car dealer lot attendant, and Alberta was a maid. They later divorced. Willie was said to be a very strict parent, though the household was somewhat peaceful, is what the siblings had said. Other siblings said that Willie was verbally abusive and that alcoholism ran in the family. So Alberta, the mom, died in 1976 when Goudeau was 12 years old. He went to high school at Corona del Sol High in Tempe, Arizona. He was good at sports, played football for the school team. He didn't graduate, though, due to not having enough credits. On September 7th of 1982, he and a brother were arrested for raping a young woman, but no charges were pursued. He had a bit of a crack problem, which led to a career in violent crimes. He was charged with an additional 3 counts of aggravated assault, armed robbery, and kidnapping. He even beat a woman's head with a barbell. The crimes did start small, though. He was charged with trespassing. What the hell was that? He was charged with trespassing in 1987 and driving under the influence the following year. And then in August of 1989, the violent crimes began. He was charged with abducting a woman, brutally raping and bludgeoning her. He claimed that she willingly had oral sex with him and that the rape and assault was the work of 2 other men. He was sentenced to 15 years for the abduction and 20 years for the a robbery he committed in 1990. He only served 13 of the 36 years that he was sentenced because he was a quote-unquote model inmate. And so in 2004, he was paroled and moved into a house not far from where the baseline killings started. And he moved with his wife, Wendy Carr. Though his neighbors all knew that he had served time in jail, he was so well liked that they could look past it. He got a job as a construction worker for a company called Select Build, and then a year after his parole, the baseline killer crimes began. So Goudeau was first referred to as the baseline rapist when Phoenix police announced that light-skinned black man was sexually assaulting females as young as 12 years old at gunpoint near Baseline Road in South Phoenix. Goudeau would later be dubbed the baseline killer in the spring of 2006 after investigators linked him to a series of murders and armed robberies, and then the crimes later spread north, primarily to the north central area of Phoenix. So now we'll kind of go on to his timeline of crimes. There's a lot of them. This is an extensive list. So the first crime attributed to the baseline killer took place on August 6, 2005 at 7202 South 48th Street in Phoenix, which is near Baseline Road. The perpetrator forced 3 young girls behind a church and molested 2 of them. On August 14th, 2005, there was a combined sexual assault and robbery at 4:10 a.m. at 2425 East Thomas Road. September 8th, 2005, homicide was at 1 a.m. on Mill Avenue, which is a very well-known area in Phoenix. Mill Ave on Tempe is where everyone at ASU goes to party. Everyone out of college still goes there to party. I've actually never been there though. I have no desire to go to Mill. I just don't want to. But that was a 19-year-old Georgia Thompson. On September 15th, 2005, there was a sexual assault at 9:40 a.m. September 20th, 2005, a sexual assault at 10:30 on Vineyard Road in Phoenix. While walking home from a Phoenix City park at night, 2 sisters, one of them clearly pregnant, were approached by Goudeau, who was armed with a gun. He sexually assaulted one of the sisters while pushing the gun into the other sister's pregnant belly. So September 28th, 2005, there was a robbery on Baseline Road. September 28th, the same day, he was busy that day, there was a combined sexual assault and robbery at 9:30 on Central Avenue. November 3rd, 2005, this is another busy day for him. There was a separate robbery at 801 at Cupid's Toy Box, a lingerie store. Then a sexual assault at 810 across the street from the robbery. There was another robbery on 32nd Street. A man with dreadlocks and a fisherman's hat walked into a shop and robbed it at gunpoint for $720. Less than 10 minutes later, he abducted a woman, placing items in a parking lot donation receptacle across the street. He sexually assaulted her in her car and demanded she drive him to the corner because he just committed a robbery. The victim said he wore a Halloween costume and black plastic glasses. On November 7th, 2005, there were 3 separate robberies. 8:08 p.m. on 32nd Street, a string of robberies occurred, starting with 4 people at gunpoint inside Las Brasas, a Mexican restaurant. He went next door to a Little Caesars Pizza and robbed 3 people inside. Immediately preceding the pizza restaurant, he robbed 4 people outside on the street. He reportedly stole $463 and fired a round into the air as he fled. Next one, he took a little break because the next one's not till December. He took a month off. On December 12th, 2005 at 6:55 p.m., there was a homicide on 40th Street. This one is kind of going back to Baseline Road. A lot of them kind of strayed from Baseline Road. Actually, a lot of them were like 2 miles from my work. That's terrifying. Glad I only work 9 to 5 and I don't have to stay there at night. On December 12th, Tina Washington, a 39-year-old woman, was on her way home from a preschool where she worked. A witness spotted a man with a drawn gun standing over her body behind a fast food restaurant. She had been shot in the head, unfortunately. Following day, December 13th, 2005, robbery took place at 4 p.m. A woman was robbed on South Mountain Avenue in Phoenix. Took the holidays off because next one was February 20th of 2006. There was a homicide at 7:38 in the morning. The bodies of 38-year-old Romelia Vargas and 34-year-old Myrna Palma Roman were found shot to death inside their snack truck at 91st Avenue and Lower Buckeye Road. Initially, police didn't connect this crime to the Baseline killer, believed that the murders were actually drug related, but the murders were officially linked by police in July of 2006. On March 15th, 2006, at 9 a.m., a double homicide was discovered on that's really close to my work, 24th Street. 2 employees of Yoshi's restaurant. Oh, I've been to this Yoshi's. Oh, that's so sad. 2 employees of Yoshi's restaurant were on their way home in the same vehicle. Liliana Sanchez Cabrera, age 20, was found dead in the parking lot of another fast food restaurant, while the body of Chow Cho, 23, was discovered about a mile away. Both victims were shot in the head. Previously, Mark Goudeau hadn't targeted men. He'd only gone after women. This was an incidental murder. He hadn't expected Liliana to be accompanied by anyone, and so he resultingly shot Chow. So March 29th, 2006, homicide at 12 o'clock midnight. A body was discovered on North 24th Street. A local businessman noticed streaks of blood on the gravel of a parking lot. The police were called, but a search of the area turned up nothing of real value. A week later, though, the businessman discovered the badly decomposed body of 26-year-old Kristen Nicole Gibbons as he was investigating a horrible odor in the area. She, too, had been shot in the head. The weird thing is about, like, a lot of these places that are, like, north central Phoenix, like, that's right across the street from the Biltmore, which is, like, a really nice area. So this kind of baffles me. I mean, not to say that because you live in a nice area, crime isn't gonna happen, but I don't know. I tend to, like, think that I feel safe, but it's like, well, this can still happen. It did. So next one is April 10th of 2006 was the murder of Sofia Nunez. She was killed in her home. It originally wasn't attributed to the Baseline killer until the ballistic evidence was compared to that of other Baseline killer victims, all of whom were shot with the same gun. May 1st, 2006 at 9 p.m., a man in a latex Halloween mask abducted a woman in a car and sexually assaulted her at gunpoint. She was taken from outside the same restaurant where the November 7th crimes occurred. May 5th, 2006, Phoenix police went public with a list of 18 crimes that were believed to be the work of the Baseline killer. The number had then risen to 23 by August 2nd of 2006. June 29th, 2006, 9:30 p.m., homicide occurred. Carmen Miranda, 37, was abducted from a self-serve car wash located half block from the May 1st and November 7th crimes. While she was on her phone, she was found dead from a gunshot to the head behind a barber shop about 100 yards away. The attack was captured on a closed-circuit television, and this is the last crime attributed to the Baseline killer before he got caught. Some other crimes, these were the ones when Mark Goudeau was younger. It was the rape that he committed along with his brother. It was November 7th, 1982, of Donna Sink. and they were unfortunately not charged for the crime. And then August 6, 1989, Darlene Fernandez was raped and not fatally bludgeoned with a barbell. It wasn't discovered that Mark Goudeau was the rapist in the Darlene Fernandez case until 2008 and 16. I keep trying to say 2006, I don't know why. But in 2016, it was discovered that there had been the assault in 1985 that had been connected to the baseline killer. DNA evidence was preserved and tested, and the DNA did match that of Mark Goudeau. Unfortunately, he cannot be tried for the crime due to the statute of limitations expiring in 1990, since it was committed in 1985. So this will then lead us to the investigation that took place. Although not initially linked, the crimes were distinguished by having no apparent motive, and the murders were particularly brutal, with the killer often shooting the victims in the head. The criminal was often described wearing various disguises, such as a Halloween mask, as well as attempting to impersonate a homeless man or a drug addict. Police say that the shell casings found at each of the crime scenes all came from the same gun. Phoenix police spent thousands of hours patrolling and followed up on hundreds of tips during the summer of 2006. As residents of Phoenix became increasingly alarmed by the random nature of the violent crimes, community meetings were called by the police to distribute a sketch based on the description given by the surviving victims. Frustration and fear blanketed the city as posters and billboards displayed the sketch of the baseline killer, even offering a $100,000 reward for information leading to an arrest. It took the police over a year to finally come up with a viable suspect. Mark Goudeau was at the time on community supervision, also known as parole, with the Arizona Department of Corrections, and supervised out of the Northeast Parole Office. In August 2006, parole officers in the Northeast Parole Office provided information to the Phoenix Police Department task force, suggesting that Mark Goudeau matched the sketch of the baseline killer. Parole officers searched Mark Goudeau's residence and found a ski mask and a realistic toy handgun. I suppose they were able to do so since he was on parole, but the police couldn't. So police used that information obtained by the parole officers to obtain a search warrant for Goudeau's residence and found additional items that linked him to crimes committed by the baseline killer, which included the ring of one of the victims was found in his shoe, and traces of Chow Cho's blood was found in a shed. So this brings me to my connection to the story. So the lead investigator of the Mark Goudeau baseline killer case was a Phoenix Police Detective Alex Femenia. He had a 30-year career with the Phoenix Police Department, served 10 years as a homicide detective. He was the lead detective in 105 homicidal investigations and was awarded the most outstanding investigator in 2006. That year he was credited for apprehending the baseline serial killer and was honored with the Governor of Arizona Award. And then in his law enforcement career, Alex was the recipient of 125 commendations and a life-saving medal. And then preceding the apprehension of the baseline killer, he did move on to the DA's office. My connection is, that's my uncle. My uncle was the lead investigator and apprehended Mark Goudeau as the baseline killer. So that's a bit of a proud moment for me. Of course, there were other suspects in the case, one of which was Terry Wayne Smith. There were a lot of supporters of Mark Goudeau. They thought he was innocent, and they said that they had the wrong man. They were saying that this gentleman named Terry Wayne Smith was the actual baseline killer. His mother even said that she had heard him bragging about how many people he had killed. So he was released from prison 2 months before the baseline killings had begun. So it would make sense. He's out of prison. He could have started the crimes. However, the DNA evidence confirmed Goudeau, for one. And then a thorough background was done on Smith that only showed circumstantial evidence, and he had even been in jail during one of the baseline crimes. So really wouldn't make sense for him to be the killer. The issue is Mark Goudeau's wife, Wendy Carr, was a big proponent for the fact that Mark Goudeau was innocent and he was wrongfully convicted. She even went so far as to create a website claiming his innocence, attacking people who think he isn't innocent, that he was a baseline killer, and questions anything that really comes out about the baseline killer. Now we'll move on to the sentencing of Mark Goudeau. On September 4th, 2006, Mark Goudeau was arrested in connection to the sexual assault of 2 Phoenix sisters. So it started with the sisters, the one who was pregnant. It was the attack that tied to the baseline killer investigation. Once they had him tried for that, they were able to proceed with more of the charges presented against him with the DNA evidence. They kind of separated the trials. So Goudeau was linked to the attack by DNA evidence that was collected shortly after the time of the crime. So prior to the trial, he sat in front of a grand jury for the charges to see if he'd go to trial. Well, the defense attorney claimed that a member of the first grand jury was biased and had the case remanded to a new grand jury, and the court judge upheld the indictments. The judge even had said that Goudeau seemed like 2 different men, which is curious. On September 7th, 2007, Goudeau was tried and convicted of all 19 charges relating to the attack on the 2 sisters, and he was sentenced on December 14th, 2007 to 438 years in prison for the sexual assault charges. There was, of course, the additional 9 murders and his extensive crime spree, including 84 other felony crimes, totaling 93 felonies over the 10-month period. His second trial was for the 74 charges, including murder, robbery. Oh, I misspoke. It was the crime spree included 74 other charges, not 84. But yeah, so he was charged for the other 74, which included murder, robbery, rape, kidnapping, sexual abuse, and or assault of minors and adults. So on November 30th, 2011, a Phoenix jury sentenced him to death on the murder charges relating to the baseline killings. He was convicted of 76 of the total 93 charges against him and sentenced to death 9 times for each murder. And also just, 1,634 years with the felonies, including the original trial for the rape of the sisters. Of course, he appealed the charges, saying he should have been charged individually for the murders. That is what he took issue with, apparently. But in 2016, the Arizona Supreme Court upheld the conviction. And Goudeau is currently held on death row at Florence. That's our men's prison here in Phoenix, at least. I'm not sure what other prisons are. Are there any? I know Perryville is the women's one. And that's like on my side of town, because Florence is southeast Phoenix, like really southeast. It's actually where Country Thunder happens, kind of funny. And then Perryville is like closer into town, still kind of far out. It's on the west side though. I don't need to be saying this, but anyway. So that was the story. No, story sounds wrong. So those were the crimes committed by Mark Goudeau, the baseline killer, and his resulting sentence. I'm pretty happy with the sentence that he received. It seemed very well deserving. 9 death sentences, just a casual 1,634 years, that seems right. He was a horrific man. A monster, really, committing all of these crimes, murders, rapes. I'm not really going to speak of the robbery, because that just, while it does ruin someone's life, that's just material, But doing that to people, murdering and raping them, targeting women, cornering them, that's just fucking awful. And he's getting what's coming to him, so happy about that. And now you guys won't think I'm so weird for saying I have a personal connection to the story. It's not because I'm related to Mark Goudeau or involved with his crimes or a victim of his crimes. No, it's just my uncle is the lead investigator, which I find pretty awesome. Glad that they were able to capture him and he's off the streets and he's getting justice. you know? Alrighty. I know some people disagree with the death sentence, which, I understand both sides of it, of course. But for a man like this, he may even be let off easy with just that. God, that sounds morbid. No, I'm just saying that I don't want to get political at all. That's the last thing I want on this podcast. But no one can get away with their crimes. I'll leave it at that. No one can get away with their crimes. That's good. Alrighty, so that is going to wrap up this episode. Again, it was a short one. I'm sorry. When I'm talking to myself, it gets kind of boring. I need multiple I can't say that. I was going to say I need multiple personalities. Keep it interesting. Well, I mean, multiple personality disorder isn't even a thing anymore. What is it? Dissociative identity. And they take great offense to saying multiple personalities, which is understandable. I was a psych major, so I understand how that goes. But anyway, yeah, shorter episodes. I'm sorry about that. If you prefer the longer ones, sorry. If you like the short ones, well, I'm bringing them. But anyway, I hope everyone has a great day. I hope this story, why do I keep calling it a story? It's not a story. It's true. This true crime episode, that was my first one. Wow, it's my first true crime. But I hope this doesn't haunt anyone too bad. I know he did a lot of horrific acts, and I didn't say trigger warning. Sorry about that. But with true crime, that's to be expected. But anyway, I'll be talking to you guys next week. If you're following, I hope that you are, and hope you have a great day. Bye.